In the very next verse, though, like a psalm which peaks in the middle with the praise of God, he returns to his lament, and he says in verse 14, "Cursed be the day on which I was born, the day when my mother bore me. Let it not be blessed. Cursed be the man who brought the news to my father. A son is born to you, making him very glad." Verse 18, "Why did I come out from the womb to see toil and sorrow and spend my days in shame?" It's been pointed out that this lament is so similar to Job that he must be reading and quoting Job here. He's suffering personal trials, of course, the woes of being a prophet who's persecuted, but he's also suffering the weight of having these visions and having to know what's going to happen to Jerusalem. To some degree, this could be happening to Jonah as well. He's angry, of course. He's angry that God has relented and not punished the evildoers. But like Habakkuk, he's in dismay. He sees that Israel itself is going to be attacked and suffer, and perhaps this weight is on him as well when he wants to die and wants to escape his own personal suffering. In verse 5 of chapter 4, Jonah went out of the city and sat to the east of the city and made a booth for himself there. Going to the east is often going away from God. It's being shut out from him. Adam and Eve, of course, were driven out of the garden and went east of Eden. And then one of the things that separates them from Eden is when God places the cherub at the entry of the east of Eden with a flaming sword to keep anyone out. Jonah has perhaps put some distance between him and God again, moving out of his presence to sit to the east of Nineveh and await their disaster, or to see what's going to happen to them. And it says here that he made a booth for himself. This booth is a sukkah. It's the same booth that the Israelites were commanded to create for themselves to celebrate the festival of booths, or the Feast of Tabernacles. It represents their time in the wilderness as they were moving away from Egypt and toward the land of Canaan. It represents God's provision for them when he gave them water from the rock and manna to eat and led them with his Shekinah Glory. He was present with them in the cloud, and he is present with them in the tabernacle. And that's what Sukkot represents, is his tabernacle, is the one who ultimately tabernacles with us. The Feast of Tabernacles is a time to look forward to the Messiah's coming and to look backward with joy at God's provision. Instead, Jonah is taking this time to sulk. He's the elder brother refusing to go in, even though his father comes to him and talks to him and asks him about his anger. He sits out in the booth where he is supposed to be celebrating God's love on the Day of Atonement, the Day of Forgiveness, and as they prepare for the Feast of Tabernacles. In fact, that may be what's going on here, is this may even be the time of the Feast of the Tabernacles, and he's sitting in that booth for shade. Even though he has the tabernacle, the image of God's presence, we see he's east of the city where he may be denying God's presence, trying to get out from under it once again. He's always half-heartedly within God's presence. His prayers are not rejoicing in the goodness of God, but rather complaining. That's not a sin to complain to God. He does welcome us and ask us to come to him to do that, rather than to hide like Adam and Eve, or flee like Jonah did on the ship. We do want to draw to him even in our complaints, but Jonah's heart is not wholeheartedly toward God. He's not in love with God's actions and his character right now, or his will. In fact, he finds it to be a source of pain for him. The Feast of Booths points us to God's presence with Israel in the desert, and of course, his ultimate tabernacling was fulfilled in Jesus, who tabernacled with us in the tent of a human body when he came to his own people, who rejected him, but then died for them. He died the one mocked on the cross. He went joyfully to his death, but he did it as a sacrifice for the world, to eagerly bring the Gentiles along with the Jews to atonement in his sacrifice. He is the Messiah, the source of the water, the manna, and the Shekinah glory, and the light to the world, that the Jews look back to in the Feast of Tabernacles, and that they saw in God in the wilderness wanderings.